Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another episode of Footprints. My name is Anthony Davis. I'm an educator at BHS, that's Beverly High School for those folks who don't know. And joining me today on the broadcast, on the show, is Derek Palosaari. Now, I'm going to tell you some things about Derek before we begin. Some stories are easy to tell, ladies and gentlemen, and there are a lot of ones that, aren't that easy. And there's a lot of people that spend their whole lives kind of trying to hide from certain things. This guy, sitting to my left right here, today's guest, isn't hiding from anything. Derek Palosaari doesn't come in with polished titles or perfect credentials or anything like that. He comes in with what we call degrees in addiction, manipulation, deceit. We're going to get into that. And a lot of lying and stuff like that. Not from a university like you would think traditionally, ladies and gentlemen, but from living it. And he's going to tell us his story. This is someone who kind of built a business, maybe did that. We'll see. We'll talk about that. Yeah. And he lost himself along the way and hit a level of rock bottom that most people really can't come back from. And most people don't really want to talk about out loud. And then somehow found a way back and decided that here's the best part that matters. That not only did he get out, ladies and gentlemen, but he made it his mission to help other people do the same thing. And we're talking about addiction, we're talking about mental health, being diagnosed with maybe bipolar disorder, and really what it takes to rebuild a life when you've really torn it down by piece, right? So we're gonna talk about that. And if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever felt like you've gone too far to come back, well, I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's not true. This episode is definitely for you, and this is Derek's story, and these are his footprints. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's welcome Derek Palosaari to Footprints.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
How about that? I set you up pretty nicely, didn't I?
Yeah, you actually you hyped me up a little much. I don't know if I can live up to that.
Well, I'm sure you can.
But no, a lot of that, a lot of what you've said is true. It was a book of pain. It really was, and it was. What's interesting is I went through the pain, and 15 to 20 years later, I wrote about the pain.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a peek at this. Look at that camera right there. The road. What is it called? The side of the road. A journey of sobriety. Of healing and faith and all of that. And I can tell you, it's going to be a good read for Mr. Davis tonight. He's going to check it out for sure, and probably hit Derek up tomorrow or the next day and say, man, I wish I had read this before we got together. But I digress. Let's talk a little bit about you. You have family, sir.
I do. Well, do you want me to give you the whole history here, Tony?
Absolutely.
All right,
we got plenty of time, so let's go for it.
I'm an Arizona guy, so as you can imagine, this stuff outside is
a little nutty for
baffling to me.
Tell me about growing up in Arizona.
You know what? Growing up, it was good. I mean, people from the East Coast like to stay near the ocean, or you're just used to it. That's what you're used to. Most people come to Arizona, and it's a culture shock. Which it is for an Arizona person moving here, but it was great. We were kids. We had wide open spaces. We used to hunt in the fields behind us, and we grew up in a neighborhood. When I say fields, they were, not big. They were the size of a football field maybe, and we would hunt for rabbits and birds. And so it was just kind of a freelance childhood. It was, it was the 70s and the 80s. Our parents. No knock to my parents, but our parents let us go out first thing in the morning, and we didn't come back until the light on the corner came on.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. That's what my parents used to say. Go out and play.
So that's how life was as a kid. Yeah. I got into well, do you want me to go into the trouble?
We're gonna get to the trouble in a second.
I'll let you take
it. Let's talk a little bit about you specifically.
Yep.
As you were growing up, siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother, a younger brother, and I had an older sister. She passed away from a drug overdose about 1.5 years ago.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit about your parents. What kind of footprints did they leave on you as a kid as you were growing up?
Well, like most any other parent, they do the best they can with what they've got. there's a lot of generational scarring and a lot of generational bad habits that happen in everybody's families.
Yeah, no question.
My family was no different. You know, my dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and the temperament around our house was eggshells, and it was a very chaotic existence as a kid. But my parents, my dad's been sober 43 years, I believe now.
Wow.
He's amazing.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah,
that is some strength right there.
My mother's, she was always and she still is the glue. We're actually flying back to Arizona tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Because it's my mother's 80th birthday and her 45th retirement party.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom passed away a while ago. But, she was in her 80s, and that happens. She had dementia and all that stuff, but that's another story for another time. Yep. Can you walk me through, like, a moment that quietly kind of changed the trajectory of your life?
To where it is today?
Yes, sir.
The moment, it really comes down to one moment. Okay. It comes down to the side of the road. And this is the premise of the name of the book. I can get into grave detail about this, which I do in the book, but I was driving and I was at rock bottom. I had done some crazy things, and God appeared, and not visually appeared, but came into my truck. And his spirit completely overwhelmed me. I had to pull over, and I just remember feeling like he was reaching down my throat and grabbing my stomach and my heart and wringing them out like a rag and wringing out the old. Now, I knew what it was because I had gone to church long enough to know about this stuff. And
and that was the turning point right there. That was
the turning point. I didn't really realize that was the turning point at the time. It was an awesome experience, and it was something that I now, obviously, a couple of years later, I realized that what he did or what was done to me or revealed to me or wrung out of me was gone, and I decided I wanted to try the things that were hard, the things that I took the easy way out and everything.
Okay.
So I wanted to do the hard things, which was be accountable, pay my bills, be a dad, be a husband. Those were things that were hard, and I shied away from doing those every bit I could.
Yeah, no doubt.
Demi's a good example. My daughter Demi has autism. She's 27. She has autism and epilepsy, and she's been with me solely for about 9 years now, and I never imagined me being the father I am today to her.
Absolutely.
Or any of my other kids. And that's where kind of that change happens.
That's it. That's where it was. That was a turning point. I love it. Now, tell the people where you can buy this particular book, if you don't mind, Derek. The Side of the Road, A Journey of Sobriety, Faith, and Healing. Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Where could I purchase this if I wanted to?
I'm on Barnes & Noble online, Amazon.
Okay.
And it's newly released, so and I'm an individual trying to get my book out. I don't have like Beyonce, I don't have $1 million in a production company that's going to fly me around the country to speak about the book.
Oh man.
So those are the places that you can get it. I've had a couple of people reach out to me already that couldn't afford the book.
Appreciate you giving me a copy, and like I said, I will do my due diligence and get after it. Now, if you're the self you are today, right now, if you met your younger self right now, right, what would surprise him most about how you are now, as opposed to where you were then?
I talked about this just the other day. If I would have met the 25-year-old me with today, who I am, and that 25-year-old, to be honest with you, I was so arrogant and cocky, and selfish and self-centered that I would have just, I would have rebuked, I would have rejected the person I am today. I would either think I was weak, I would have, or just a wimp, just you sold out. One of the biggest phrases for me was only quit. What is it? I can't even think of that.
That's
phrase.
okay.
It'll come to me.
Listen, I have a bunch of sayings that I love to say. One of my favorite sayings is, you can't expect to see change if you never do anything differently.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's so true. Sometimes you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you expect a different result, but you keep getting the same result, right?
That's what most of us do.
So that's what yeah, for sure. So that's one of the biggest things I think as individuals and as people, we need to realize that that's not what's going to make it change. We have to make a change, subconsciously and consciously, right? Now, when things got really tough for you, Derek, okay, what kept you really from folding?
Ego and pride were a big one. I always, up until the end, I always put the strong, confident, all-together guy for everybody to see. That's what everybody saw. But I remember praying in the morning, every single morning for 10 years, to stop drinking and drugging. But again, you talked about taking the step to do the hard things, change. I didn't change. By 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was drunk.
Yeah. You were back to it.
I was back to it.
Oh,
and then I would
man.
make the same resolution the next morning, and I could never stick to it. And I did that for a long time.
All right. So now, do you think people find their purpose in that moment, or is it created somewhere else?
In the moment of the awakening? Or
The awakening. Yes.
I think some people do. I think that what I experienced was a sudden spiritual fulfillment is what I experienced. What I found is most people have a generalized version, and it grows over time. Mine still didn't go. I wasn't all of a sudden great and perfect and a great husband, a great father. I was not all of those things as soon as this happened. It took me years of working, but the difference was I was willing to work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. More so now than back then, of course, right?
More so now, yeah. It's well, I always say, at least this is for me, it's harder to get sober than it is to stay sober. So for me to stay sober, even though some will rebuke what I just said, but it was difficult for me. That first 10 years of sobriety were difficult. Now, they weren't horrible. It shouldn't, but there were times that were really difficult, and I had the same issues. The way I talked to my wife was so inappropriate and so over the top, but that's the way I learned how to do it from my parents.
Yeah, so there's the footprints there, not good ones.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So you're following those, and I understand that 100%. And if you listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to BevCam, which is right here on YouTube. Don't forget also we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to join us here at the podcast, come and tell your story. Just go to www.footprintsimpact.com, ladies and gentlemen. Fill out the guest form and come tell us your story. Derek, this is amazing stuff that you're giving me right here. Now, do you think, well, I got a couple things I want to say. One is, what motivates you now that didn't motivate you then?
What motivates me now is the desire to be of service to the fellow mankind. I don't care what color, creed, sexual orientation, any of that stuff. If somebody needs help, I love to help. Now, it doesn't mean I know it all.
Right.
When it comes to addiction, I can speak to you real. I can speak to you. I've been in the trenches. I've been to hell. I've looked at Satan in the eye and fought my way back. But if you want to come talk to me about motorcycles, I couldn't tell you the first thing about motorcycles. You want to talk to me about horses, I can't tell you the first thing about horses. Just like my wife at the time, my first wife, she tried to empathize and sympathize and be there for me, but she really didn't know the depth. She didn't have the depth and weight that was required for me to be able to identify to it.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? So, and I love working with young kids. I've worked with some high school kids. And it's one of those things. I was able to earn their respect fairly quickly. because of my story, what I've been through. You know, and it's not everything that I've been through that matters in this book. It is, see the similarities. There's similarities with the feelings, the actions, you know, the things. I remember going to the doctor's office for my mental illness. I wasn't diagnosed yet, but I went to the doctor's office, and he's asking me a bunch of questions. Well, of course, how is he going to help me with my mental illness if I won't tell him that I'm snorting an 8-ball of Coke a week and drinking profusely every day?
Right.
Would I tell him when he asks, do you drink or drug? I have a couple beers a day.
Yeah.
You know, and I think everybody across the board does that for that reason. So
know
how
that,
can you actually expect to get the help, the medical help, if you're not honest with where you're at and what you're doing?
No question. You're right. And I'll tell you something. To be able to come face to face with your own demons, fight them, and win, that in itself is amazing. And I'm so happy for you, to be able to come through that, because that's really a difficult time in your life, and you've overcome a lot to be here to tell us your story today. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Now, let's talk a little about relationships. Oh, I want to also mention, you remind me a little bit of a poem by Robert Frost, right? The poem was basically, there were two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled, and it made all the difference in my life.
All the difference.
Right? And so now when I think about that, I think about you.
Yeah.
And I think about this whole thing that's going on.
I took the other road.
Yes, you did. And but now you realized which road was the right road.
Correct.
And you got back on it. Now, who had the biggest impact on your life, would you say? And what did they teach you without you even realizing it?
So I'm going to mention a couple of people, because my childhood friend, Levi McClendon, was a kid that I used to fight with. We would get kicked out of school together. We were, I was constantly at battle with him, competitively, whether it be athletics, because we were both good athletes and both ended up going to college. But it was just one of those things. He's still to this day one of my best friends, and he has been a pillar for me to lean on and tell him things that, you know, you don't tell your so-so buddy, you know, these feelings like, man, I'm feeling sad.
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm feeling depressed.
Yeah, you kind of keep
We don't
to
say
yourself.
that. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
man, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
and it's so he was one of them. The other one would probably have to be my sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous, Ray. Ray was this short, small, tiny Hispanic man that I would not normally, with my ego, I wouldn't have looked at him and been like, oh, I look up to this guy. But after hearing this guy speak and watching him live his life, I was just in awe. I was like, man, that's the peace I want. That's the love in my heart that I want. And he has a desire to help other people, which he taught me over 15 years of sponsoring me. And those two people were probably the biggest influential, besides my parents. My parents taught me what not to do, but they also taught me what to do.
So, having said that, and thinking about those folks who helped you along in your life and got you to where you are now, and on the right path, what do you think people your age are like getting wrong at this particular time?
At my age?
At our age. I mean, I'm up there too, believe me.
I think at our age, for men, I can't. Women are a totally different creature, for the most part. Not everybody and not all the time, but for men, it is still the ego and the pride and the unwillingness to take accountability for issues. You know, you scratch somebody's car, are you going to leave them a note, or are you going to bail out of that parking lot?
See, I'm the guy that leaves a note. I'll probably search for the
I
driver.
leave a note. I was at home. I was at Home Depot, and I had a $250 tool on the bottom of my cart. The cart was full, so I couldn't see it through the cart. Got out to my car, unloaded everything, and saw it sitting there. I just told my wife, I've got to go back and pay for this.
Yes.
And I went straight back, and I will do that every single time.
100%.
Now, I'm not saying if you kept it, you're a bad person, you're going to hell. None of that stuff. But it's the integrity within you.
Yes.
Your self-speak and the integrity that you talk to yourself with, that makes me feel good. It doesn't make me feel better than. It just makes me feel good that I was honest enough to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'll be honest, a lot of people wouldn't have done that. And And it's interesting, like I've been in situations where I might be walking behind a person and they drop $100 bill and they didn't know they dropped it, and I see it, I pick it up. Now I have a dilemma. Do I put it in my pocket?
Yep.
Or do I chase that person down and tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, by the way, you dropped this?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to be like, hey, listen, you dropped this. And here's why. I have a bunch of core values that I've been raised with. My parents gave me a great base. And they said, do unto others, you have others do unto you.
Correct.
Treat people like you want to be treated.
Yep.
And I've always lived by that. I have 7 children. I taught them that mantra. And I hope that they live by that as well, and they have been. And so for me, I think it's really important to have that integrity that you talked about.
Yeah.
And not everybody has it, you know. And if society had more of that, Derek, I think we would have a little bit better society going on.
It's a simple building block. It is that success and that feeling of doing the right thing. Even though you're in the back of your mind, you're saying, you dummy, you could have gotten away with that tool for free. You could have spent that $250 on something else.
Yep.
But the fact that you build on that little block, then the next thing you do, let's say a lady's broke down a flat tire on the side of the road. You stop and change her tire, take no money. That's another building block.
Yep.
And then that's how you start building the positivity in your life, in my opinion, and that's what I do.
Okay. All right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about mental health, because we mentioned that you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Correct.
Right? Now, how did that change your understanding of yourself?
In the beginning, it didn't, because when I got diagnosed, it was after the worst. Do you know bipolar has mania and depression?
Yes.
Okay. I was godlike in my mania. I was better than everybody. I could do nothing wrong, and I had energy galore. Add drugs and alcohol into that, and it really messes things up.
Oh, sure.
So after I had the worst mania is when I was suggested to go speak to a doctor about this. And so I did, and she told me I was bipolar, and she actually told my wife while we were sitting there. I had committed infidelity. I had cheated on my wife. And she told my wife, it wasn't him, it's not his fault. And I stopped her dead in her tracks, and I said, I don't buy that.
Right.
If you give me that excuse now, I get that excuse the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's like
now
get out of free
nothing,
jail card,
everything I do, I've got that excuse. I can go to court and say, Judge, I'm bipolar. It doesn't work.
Right.
And it wouldn't work for me because I'm a manipulator, and I would use that. But I refused to allow that to stand. I did say it might have played a role, but it is me, myself, and I that did these things, and I knew they were bad.
Right. Now, as you were going through your life, when did you realize that you were in really deep? Like, you knew, like...
Mental illness?
Yeah, like
so,
deep in it. Like,
when I was looking back, when I was a child, I believe I was bipolar as a child. I was very... up and down. It was just a crazy childhood. I started realizing after high school that something was wrong.
Right.
That I was just things were different, and I would go to the doctor and they'd give me an antidepressant, but then I would still get these manias, and so I would again lying to the doctor. The whole time I was taking Zoloft or trying to get better, I was still drinking and drugging the exact same way I did. So I was batting my head up against a wall. You know, I was fighting a losing battle.
And then you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right? After all of that stuff that was going on. What did that actually look like for you?
It was self-defeating. It was at the time that I had been found out, and that's the biggest key. It wasn't being caught cheating. It wasn't about the lying and the manipulation. It was about being found out. Now everybody knew who the real Derek was. I wasn't this, Superman guy. I pulled back the stuff, and here you saw this messy guy. So it was just one of those situations where I felt horrible, and the self-abuse was just as bad as anything else, because I try to, and I still to this day strive to be perfect. Sometimes hold myself up to a standard that's not really applicable. But
yeah. I think all of us do that.
Yeah,
at some point, Derek, believe me.
that was the biggest thing for me, was just that self-pity, that incomprehensible demoralization, and knowing there's nowhere out. I remember praying, God, I need to quit these things, but I don't know how. Sporting events, my kids' parties, when I was coaching my daughter's softball team, when I was putting up Christmas lights, fishing, driving the car. I had a beer between my legs, driving the car with my kids all the time.
Wow. Now
on
that
a daily
right there
basis.
is some truth, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't say it because I want pity or sympathy.
Right.
I say it because this book is me trying to show others that the stupid things that we do, the horrible things that we do, we can get away from that.
Yes.
It takes work. It takes time. It's one day at a time.
No doubt. And ladies and gentlemen, if you heard what he just said, one day at a time, it's really important. If you're listening to this podcast and you can relate to Derek's story, please, after we're done and it comes out, this podcast, share it with somebody who can really use that.
Absolutely.
That because they could use your help at this particular time. You know what
And
I mean?
I've got my email address in the book. I encourage the readers to reach out to me, tell me their story, or whatever to that degree. Have a conversation, whatever. Just open up some sort of dialogue with people that are out there.
Now, what was the moment everything sort of started to change in a positive direction for you? Kind of shifted a little bit. Like, all right, now I've gone through that metamorphosis of talking to myself, and God has really spoken to me and did my thing, and boom, now it's a shift. When did that start to really shift toward who you become now?
It started to shift in the first year of getting sober. It started to, I could feel the shift happening, that things were I was seeing the world through different lenses.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
But in 2008, I was in real estate, and all my money was in real estate. I owned a couple of homes. I owned part of a subdivision. And in 2008, I lost all of those things, including the home I lived in.
Oh, my.
And
tell us about that. So what'd you do?
Honestly?
Yes.
I curled up in a ball on my bed and didn't move for several weeks.
I probably would have done that too.
I would have liked to have think that I fought the good fight, but I didn't. It completely crippled me. I found my importance in money, stature, and I lost all of that. All of that was gone.
Oh boy.
And it was difficult. It was tough because I was making $300 some odd thousand in the 90s or in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And I was doing well. I mean, we were doing good. I had toys, cars.
Yeah.
And when the economy crashed, I couldn't get a job. I actually, first of all, when I tried to find a job, I was above those jobs. Yeah. I wasn't going to go work at McDonald's. I'm above that. I was making $300,000 a year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I ended up waiting tables.
Okay.
And that was, to me, a humbling move. And I took that position because my mother always said, something is better than nothing, number one. Number two, start. Just start. That kinetic energy. If you get in motion and you get this job. So it was funny. I waited tables for a year. I was also a photographer. An opportunity opened up. I started a photography company and made great money and had to quit waiting tables. And so I did that for 12, 13 years. And so it was just, it's that motion of doing the same thing over and over. That's good. And then when you fall or stub your toe or fail, get up and do it again. Call somebody, call me, email me, get that encouragement to get up and understand that I'm going to fight.
Yep. Connect those dots always, right? And like you said, you just got to start. Because if you don't start, then how are you going to get in the game, right?
It's like sitting on the couch praying to God to give me a job while I'm eating hot dogs and popcorn. Not much is going to happen.
No.
As awesome as God is, not much is going to happen there.
That's right. You got to, listen, at some point you have to help yourself, right?
Yeah.
You got to get up off the couch and figure out what's going to be the next step, right?
That's it.
I always try to picture it like putting my one foot in front of the other, no matter where it is. And every day I wake up, I always say to myself, today's another day for me to help somebody else.
That's perfect.
How am I going to impact somebody else? That's why I feel as an educator and as a podcaster. How am I going to help someone else in their life?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's my purpose. And that's what, God has said to me to do.
Yeah.
And so, hence, here we are having a conversation.
I honestly believe that we're all here to be of service. To some degree.
Without a doubt.
Even if it's holding the door for somebody, walking somebody across the street, something.
Now, as you went through this metamorphosis, this process, what are some of the habits and routines that kind of helped you rebuild your life to where it is now?
Diligence, never giving up. Drinking, if I ever, and I haven't had the desire. Now, don't get me wrong. I see a commercial, especially this winter. I see a commercial about a beach in Mexico, and they've got Coronas lined up or margaritas. Those look like they would probably be pretty good, but it's not a serious thought where I'm jonesing to have that.
Right, I hear you.
So I will. The other thing is, God has given me the ability to play the tape back. What happens when I take that first drink? I'm going to end up exactly where I was. As much as I might want to lie to myself and say I'm not, I tried for years and years and years to stop. I'm only going to drink 2 drinks. Never have I had just 2 drinks.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We always lie to ourselves about certain things, right? Oh, I'm only going to do this or I'm only going to do that.
And when our mind is not healthy or sober or clear, those lies are truth. They are fact.
Yeah, they hit you right in the face. There's nothing you can do about it.
And that was the hard part about getting sober. When you remove the drugs, the alcohol, and all of the other chaos, and you're left with your own thoughts. Now I have to learn how to feel. I have to learn how to be angry without punching you in the face. Things like that are just,
wow.
It's deep.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you're telling me your story here today because I can empathize and see it. I'm having never gone through it, but I can see the perspective and the picture you're painting. And those folks who are listening and watching us here on BevCam, please, I would implore you to go pick up this book, The Side of the Road, A Journey of Sobriety, Faith and Healing. And Derek Palosaari is the author, and I'll tell you something. Like I said, I'm going to read it tonight, and I can't wait to get involved and see how it really kind of opens my eyes.
I'd love to hear what you think.
Oh yeah. Oh, believe me, I will be in contact with you. I'll let you know.
Cool.
For sure. Now, the biggest thing is, as you're telling your story, what was one of the hardest things to really kind of put in the book as you were telling your story? What was some really hard stuff?
The book was a 21-year project. When I first got sober, writing was an outlet for me. So I wouldn't voice my anger and lash out. I used to say things to my wife that cut her. Now those cuts scarred over, but they're still there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I can't take those words back. And I said things that were, they were horrible. They were unbelievably horrible.
I can well imagine.
And so the question again was...
So what was the hardest thing to put in the book?
The hardest thing to put in the book was probably, actually, the last experience I had in that book, was which only happened a few years ago, which is where I was falsely accused of sexual harassment and I was canceled in my hometown.
Oh.
That's probably that was the hardest one because it was the freshest. But and I say it in the book, who am I to release this book and tell you it's all truth if I won't tell you one of the hardest things?
Yeah, no question.
If I easily could have withheld it. But again, it's not about pity for me. It's not about believing me. It is about, man, this Yahoo did all this stuff and he's okay. Now, I'm not rich.
Right.
I'm not perfect. On the way over here today, I lost my temper a little bit. My daughter was like, "Dad, why are you cussing?" And I said, "Daddy was a little upset. I'm sorry."
But that's okay to be upset,
Exactly.
right? We have those emotions. We run the gambit of those.
It
That's
took
all
me
right.
about 5 minutes to get back to center.
That's it. That's what it does.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to do a little feng shui, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
it.
Right?
That's
it. Now, who is this book really for, Derek?
That's a great question. The book obviously is geared towards alcoholics and addicts. 50% of people that suffer from a mental illness also are addicts. 50%.
Wow.
And that's vice versa.
Right.
Which was me, I understood a little bit more after diving more into my mental health, why I was drinking and drugging, and I was trying to fill those dead spots. So those are the obvious ones as far as I would say. I think the ones that wives of alcoholic husbands or boyfriends, grandparents that are raising their grandkids that are struggling in school, they may not be addicts and whatnot. Just like I was a problem drinker and a problem drugger.
Right.
And then I don't know when, but I crossed that boundary of an addict where I had to have it.
Oh, boy.
And so I would say those are the kind of people, the support staff, just so you get an understanding of the depth of they're devastating things. I call them stupid things. I was plain and simple. I was stupid.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
Listen, we've all got a bit of stupid in us at some point. Believe me, I've done some silly things in my life that I probably shouldn't have done. But you live and learn is what they say, right? And you grow from those experiences.
Yep.
And that's what you've been doing, which is a wonderful thing.
Yep.
Now, if someone were listening and they're struggling right now and they're struggling in silence, what would you say to them?
It's difficult. I was always taught through Alcoholics Anonymous that when somebody wants you to be their sponsor or wants to work with you or wants you to help them get sober and go through the steps, you take them to coffee. And you take them to coffee, and that's what I did dozens and dozens of times. And it allows us to get to know each other. How many times have you heard, get some willpower, or why can't you do it for the kids? Why can't you do it for your wife? You know, your mother's on her deathbed and you're drunk. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's crazy the way that we think. And so.
I love that. You know, there's truth in all of that.
Yeah.
I love it to the core. Now, I'm going to kind of change gears a little bit. We're going to do some rapid fire questions, right? Just for you specifically. One word answers. Tell me what you're thinking. Truth or comfort?
Truth.
Truth. I love it. Because you're there right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're in that.
And that's where I've been trying to be for the last
truth.
10 years. It's been a challenge, but that's where I've been.
I love it. What's easier, lying to yourself or lying to others?
Lying to others is easier. The damage you do to yourself by doing that is longer lasting.
First time you were really good at when you realized you were good at manipulating people?
When I was a kid and I would talk my way out of being arrested.
I wish I could do that. What's more dangerous, a good liar or a good listener?
What's more dangerous? A liar.
Okay. Why?
It's spewing hatred. It's spewing negativity. And you know, okay, these are one answer words, so I won't go into it.
No, that's fine.
I was going to say, so
I kind of guided you down there a little bit.
I got clean and sober. I had to completely change my friends. However, I didn't have to really change my friends. My friends stopped hanging around me because they didn't want to catch what I had.
Yeah.
And so my circle was, they might call me out. My old friends never called me out. They co-signed my bull crap.
Yeah.
They bought me more drugs. They bought me more alcohol, and they told me I was I was cool. Let's keep hanging out.
Let's keep hanging out.
And that fed my ego. And I was like, I feel good around these guys. You know, around these church people, I feel like a bum.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's the company you keep.
Correct.
For sure, right?
Well, my mom used to say, if you show me your friends, I'll show you who you are.
Exactly.
And I used to not understand that, but I absolutely understand it now. I ask kids all the time at church, I'm like, show me your friends, I'll show you who you are.
Okay, so you ever believe your own lie? Yes or no?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I would be silly to say no.
Of course.
I think we all do.
All right, so what's something you got away with but you shouldn't have? Way back in the dark days.
Back in the day, a DUI, and the only reason I got out of it was because I refused to blow on the side of the road into the breathalyzer. They put me in the car, they brought me to the station and told me, you're going to lose your license for a year since you didn't do the breathalyzer. And I said, I'm willing to do it now. I didn't realize that. And they refused to let me. When we went to court, the judge said, you should have breathalyzed him. He wouldn't have sobered up in that half hour. So I got out of it.
So you got out of it?
Yep.
That's, well, listen, those who are listening, don't do that.
No.
All right, don't ever do that. Control or freedom, which one's better?
Freedom.
Freedom. I like freedom as well.
Control is an illusion.
It certainly is. We'll talk a little bit. We can go a whole podcast on that one, believe me. Hardest truth you've ever had to admit to yourself?
That I had to admit to myself that I was an alcoholic and could not manage my own life. With drugs, alcohol. That was one of the hardest. And when you talk about longevity, like thinking if somebody's wanting to get sober right now and they're like, man, I can't drink for 15 years. You know, when I'm 40 years old, I can't drink again. You know, and I'm like, what the heck? You're looking at a huge span where a lot of things could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about today.
Yeah, let's live in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Stay in the present. Right? That's what they say. Regret or lesson?
Little of both, but lesson.
I think a lesson too, because you take more. I mean, I don't regret any decisions I've ever made in my life, to be honest with you. But there are certain lessons in each decision. And I take those lessons and I say, okay, this is what happened. All right, I got that. I understand now. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm with you on that one. What scares you more, being exposed or being ignored?
Being ignored.
Yeah, no, right? I definitely don't want to be ignored either. Now, what's more addictive, power or validation?
Validation, probably. Power would be just as addictive, but we're not always in that phase of power unless you're a boss of a corporation or you have authority over people. You look at the police chief. He has authority over people. He could be dealing with some issues there.
What's your biggest internal battle right now?
My biggest internal battle,
yes,
is the direction. Which door? The direction that God has me going is I can't see it. I can't see it.
You're just going.
And it's frustrating. Now, I feel it and I know it. I've been called to help others. That's what my purpose on this earth is to help others. So what that looks like, feels like, I did this book for that reason, not knowing all the nuances of being an author and trying to get your book out to people. It's when you're a self-published, fairly broke guy, it's hard to pump this book out. My goal would be to buy 10,000 of these books and give it out to every treatment center, mental health facility. That's what I would do. I don't have the funds to do it.
Well, we're going to push that narrative for you right here. That's what we're doing right now.
But that's the goal.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, biggest question, do you trust yourself?
100%.
Okay, and why?
Because I have not trusted myself for so long. I lied to myself. I deceived myself. I let that record play in my head. And I've learned over the years, being sober, being treated for my mental illness, that I now have control over my thoughts and my feelings. I'm not saying things aren't going to pop into my head that are inappropriate.
Right.
They do, but I capture them and I redirect them.
Yeah. So you got that filter on, which is really good.
Most of the time, my wife would tell you no.
Me too.
Yeah.
I try to do that as well. Now, one sentence that you would say defines who you are.
Oh, geez. A dedicated father and husband that does his best on a daily basis to provide and support his family, as well as anybody else that would like it.
I love it. I love it. Finish this sentence for me, Derek. No matter how far you've fallen.
No matter how far you have fallen, you can always fall farther.
Well, yeah. And then you hit the bottom, and then what?
Yeah.
Right? It's not the end, right? It's only the beginning.
It's a beginning. That is actually the beginning. When you've reached whether it's your rock bottom or you've reached a really hardship in your life, you can only go up from there if you choose. It's the hard path. It's that narrow path versus the wide path.
Yeah.
I chose that wide path my entire life.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the last 15, 20 years that I've tried that narrow path.
Okay. I love it. I love it. So now you've figured it out.
Well,
right? For you, right?
I don't have it fully figured out, but yes, for the most part, absolutely.
Yes, you've turned on the right switches, and you're heading in the right direction, and that's the beauty of your footprints that you're leaving for those to follow you. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like our content, please subscribe to BevCam. That's on YouTube. Don't forget, we're also on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. And if you want to be a guest, come sit and tell me your story. Please go to www.footprintsimpact.com. Fill out the guest form. Come sit and tell me your story. Derek, it's been my pleasure to have been sitting with you today to really get a dose of your reality. It was really awesome.
Thank you.
That was Derek Palosaari. I knew I was going to screw it up.
Everybody
But thank you. Derek Palosaari. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing that you're going to take from this conversation, it's that rock bottom isn't the end we just talked about. It's a decision point, okay? You heard it here today. No matter how far things go or no matter how many mistakes you stack up and make, there's still a way back, always. And it starts with honesty, real honesty that Derek really gave us here today. Now, if this episode meant something to you, and I hope it did, and really don't keep it to yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Share it with someone who really might need to hear it, okay? Because chances are, guess what? That someone in your life is fighting a battle you can't see. And I think it's important to be able to help them through that. And if Derek's story really connected with you, make sure you check out his book, please. We're going to talk more about that, and I'm going to read it, and we're going to reach out, and we're going to chit-chat some more after the podcast is over, right? And reach out, because sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, listen, the most powerful thing you can do is let someone know they're not alone, right? And, you know, that's the beautiful, beautiful part of Footprints, and that's what we're leaving every day as we go through our lives. Derek, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
My name is Anthony Davis. This is Footprints, where every story leaves a mark. And as always, I leave you with this question, ladies and gentlemen. Who left a footprint on you? I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.